Yeah. Ahsoka, starring Rosario Dawson, Natasha Liu Bordozzo, Hayden Christensen, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Ivana Sakno, Ray Stevenson, and many more, is a series that follows Ahsoka Tano as she investigates an emerging threat to the galaxy following the fall of the Empire. I'm going to first get it out of the way that Star Wars The Clone Wars is one of my favorite shows of all time. Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters of all time. I absolutely love what Dave Filoni did in Clone Wars and in Rebels, and I was really excited for this, especially after the first two trailers. I wasn't very happy with Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian Season 3, really loved Andor, but I got my hopes up for this show based off of the trailers, based off of knowing that, like, this is Dave Filoni's thing, Ahsoka, bringing basically everybody back from Rebels, bringing Thrawn back into it, love his character. So this was one of my most anticipated shows of the year, and it was a absolutely massive disappointment. I'm going to get into spoilers throughout this entire video. This is going to be a little bit longer of a one. I'm going to kind of go episode by episode and just hash out my problems with it. Some things that I do like about the show and some things that I do appreciate about what they've done. But overall, I was woefully disappointed with the show, especially episodes 6 through 8. I did not like how they ended the show whatsoever. It was just not great. But starting off with episode 1, this show starts off with an absolutely just stupid decision. There's Balin and Shin are approaching this rebel or this new Republic ship, and the commander of the ship's just like, let them on board. Let's see if they're bluffing. Why are you letting them on board? It made absolutely zero sense, and that was kind of a trendsetter for just stupid, illogical decisions that were made throughout the entire show that kind of put a bad taste in your mouth from the very start. Then it just went to Ahsoka doing a damn Fallen Order side quest puzzle for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, I didn't really mind it, but it was just a massive waste of time to see her do that for like literally 10 minutes. She gets into a fight with some droids and then they self-destruct. And I don't think that I've ever seen a self-destruction in Star Wars be like a nuclear blast level size. I mean, those droids blew up and wiped out almost the entire ruin that they were on, which was really weird. Some general thing that I am going to get out of the way. I'm so sick of them shooting on sound stages. Everything feels so small and claustrophobic. They never shoot on any location anymore outside of Andor. Andor shot on location and it looked phenomenal. Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, they all shoot on that little sound stage basically that they have, and everything just looks so small and just fake and not. It just doesn't feel real, and it just looks the set design is just terrible, and it has been for a while, and I'm getting really sick of that for Star Wars. And then the biggest gripe that I have basically throughout this entire show is just the Force dynamic between Sabine and Ahsoka. They act like they have this really bad history where they don't like each other because there's some fallout with their training, which we never really saw Sabine in Rebels be a Force user of any kind. So for her to just magically be like, all right, you're going to have the Force now with absolutely no explanation, and we're just going to kind of tell you about it throughout the entire show. It's just a classic example of it's just a classic example of tell, don't show, and we're just kind of experiencing Sabine, and we're just kind of getting told that Sabine is a Jedi, and we're supposed to buy it and believe it, when there's not really any reason or pre-established anything that has proven her to be a Jedi or have the Force or literally anything. It's just, we want Sabine to be a Jedi now, and there's really no reason for her to be a Jedi in this show. It's just, they wanted her to be a Jedi, so Some good things about the first episode and just overall about the series is that the villains are really menacing. I really like Balin and Shin. I thought that they were by far the most interesting aspect of this show. They definitely don't pull punches. Balin and Shin don't. And I really like seeing their characters anytime that they were on screen. All of the action sequences are great, and it definitely feels like Star Wars, especially with how they handle the lightsaber fights. It's definitely the best lightsaber fighting in Disney Star Wars, and I can say that without a doubt. The lightsaber fighting in this show is absolutely phenomenal, and it clears literally any other Star Wars show. Then for episodes 2 and 3, I'm going to be real, I don't remember that much about these episodes. Sabine getting stabbed at the end of episode 1, I remember that, and thinking, man, I know that she's going to be in a damn medical bed at the start of the next episode, but it would be really cool and a really cool plot twist to kill her off in the first episode. That would have really gotten me invested, but everybody besides Qui-Gon can live whenever they get stabbed in the chest with a lightsaber, so whatever. But more about episode 2 and 3. The writing was really apparently just bad. Dave Filoni does not need to be writing Star Wars live action shows because it just doesn't translate that well. I think specifically I was really able to pick up on it with Mon Mothma because you see her character in Andor and just the phenomenal writing that Tony Gilroy and his crew have been able to put together for her. It's flawless, whereas you have her in this show and it's just like, oh boy, there's just such a stark contrast that you can't really miss it. And I was really underwhelmed with the writing in these 2 episodes. And then the Empire Loyalist little side plot in episode 3 was kind of silly. The guy screaming, "Long live the Empire," right before shooting kind of takes away the surprise of trying to surprise and shoot Hera and Ahsoka. So that was really dumb. The action sequences in that episode were good, though. Ahsoka fighting the guy that she went on to kill, I forgot his name, the guy that everybody thought was Starkiller, which I never believed because they're not going to bring Starkiller into Disney Star Wars. It's not going to happen. Now let's get into the 2 episodes that I actually did like. Episode 4 and 5. They actually did something good in these episodes. Lots of lightsaber fights, and like I said, probably the best lightsaber fights of Disney Star Wars. Balin was absolutely awesome in this episode, in episode 4 when he fights Ahsoka. Just how menacing he is. Shin was amazing, just chasing Sabine, toying with her the entire time. And Sabine choosing them was a logical choice, and I really liked it because, I mean, Sabine's conflicted, and that's a decision where you're just like, no, I don't want you to make that decision, but you completely understand her in doing so. And that is the kind of storytelling that this show needed so much more of, and it's just kind of infuriating looking back upon it. But if I'm ever going to rewatch this show, or if I ever get urged to just see more Ahsoka and Sabine and more style of this, the only episodes from the show that I'm going to watch are episode 4 and 5, because those are the only ones that I think were really that good. But episode 4, I really liked it. There was just, it was very Star Wars, and I really appreciated it. And then Anakin appearing at the end, I really liked. I like Hayden Christensen. The prequels, I think, are pretty solid. I grew up on them. I grew up with Clone Wars, so that is my era of Star Wars, so I'm always going to have an appreciation towards it. And anybody saying, aw, glub shitto type shit, go fuck yourself, especially for episode 5, because Anakin showing up in a show with Ahsoka makes sense. We've already established Hayden's come back, so there's no reason to not have him in this show. And I mean, he makes sense in the story, and there's definitely a lot of cool visual imagery, and seeing the flashbacks of Ahsoka in Clone Wars, I think there's one thing that live action did a lot better, was portraying how much of a kid Ahsoka really was during the Clone Wars, and it really did put it into a brand new perspective. Holy shit, she is really a child soldier fighting in this war. And it really does, like, that was one of the best moments, just like really getting a grasp on that and how just terrible the Clone Wars were. Once again, I don't think that Dave Filoni should be writing his Star Wars movie, but based off of the visual imagery in this episode, especially with all the flashbacks and the Clone Wars stuff, I definitely think that he can direct it because he can pull off some pretty cool shots. And then episode 6, we get right back to just overextended Rebels episode, basically. Sabine was really annoying in this episode, just constantly repeating, "We had a deal, we had a deal, we had a deal." I promise you she said that at least 5 or 6 times, and it just got so annoying in the first 15 minutes of the show. We finally meet Thrawn, and the only reason that he really seemed smart in this entire show was because everybody else was just so stupid. Like, he's the only one that understands that it doesn't matter if Sabine and Ezra are alive because they're not going to have a ride off this planet. He's the only person to understand that until later on in episode 8, which we'll get into. It's just so, like, everybody is so stupid. That's the only way that Thrawn's able to look smart. And the entire 3 episodes that he's in, the only thing he's doing is he's standing on that little platform and he's loading fucking cargo. He does nothing besides load cargo onto a ship and then they leave. Like, he doesn't really outmaneuver anybody or outsmart anybody. He's just like, "Hey, Night Sisters, find Ahsoka. Ooh, look at me, I'm so smart." It doesn't work like that. Like, Thrawn was surprising. He was predictive. He knew every single move that the Rebels were going to make in Rebels. And then in this, it's just like, find Ahsoka, send 2 TIE fighters, send a battalion, kill some stormtroopers, and then make them zombie stormtroopers. Yeah. Like, that is Thrawn's character in this show. He does nothing of importance, and he does absolutely nothing to be menacing, and it really just expects you to be like, "Ooh, that's Thrawn," because that's how it was in Rebels. Like, he earned that reputation. He does not earn that in this show whatsoever. But episode 6 really feels like a Rebels episode that is 20 minutes too long, especially with Sabine having this pet thing that she rides, and just the scenes with that were just so unnecessary that it was just silly. Then episode 7 starts off with some more New Republic shit, and C-3PO comes in, and this was probably the worst scene of the entire show. C-3PO coming in on behalf of Senator Leia Organa was just dumb, just to bail Hera out. The guy that doesn't like Hera makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Just yelling at her, having this personal vendetta against her it just made absolutely no sense. Nothing in this, like, with the New Republic makes sense whatsoever. There was no reason why Hera couldn't have gone off and investigated, and then they're just like, "Now we're going to try and get rid of your position as a general." She was doing nothing. Like, why didn't they just give her something to do and then she leaves? That would be a lot more conflictive and you could understand their point. There is absolutely no reason for them to say no to Hera. They gave her absolutely no reason because she wasn't doing anything. The action sequences in this episode were good, though. It was fun to see Ezra. The guy playing him was fine, I guess. He was a little bit too similar to his character from Rebels, a lot more than I'd like, because if he's spending 20 years in isolation alone, for, like I said, 20 years, you'd expect him to be a little bit more bitter and more wise than he was at the end of Rebels. But he's still just quippy, fun, haha, I'm Ezra, look at me go, which I don't mind because I liked Ezra in Rebels, but it doesn't feel like it would fit his character or anybody. Now getting into episode 8, which is where every single problem with the show came crumbling down, kind of like I expected that it would, because no Disney show, Marvel, or Star Wars has really been able to have a good conclusion, and they always rush them. Ezra originally questions how Sabine got there, and she just kind of brushes it off. And then once they see the big ass hyperspace ring, he's just like, he just immediately knows everything. And it's like we completely missed the conversation where he figures out how Sabine got there. And that is a very crucial part of this story. And that's something that Ezra should have found out, or something that he should have known, and definitely something that we should have seen, but we just didn't get it. It was just, oh, there's a massive ass hyperspace ring around a big ass Star Destroyer. And Ezra just, all right, cool, that's there. He doesn't question it at all, because why not? And again, Thrawn was loading cargo for 3 fucking episodes, and he maintained throughout at least the first 2 that it doesn't matter, we can just leave them here, and then continues to just send waves of stormtroopers after them and says, now we have to wait and try and kill them before we can leave, because they might be able to get up here now? Like, that doesn't make any sense. They had the same probability of getting up onto your ship before as they do now. They have a better shot now because now you're just waiting for them to get on your ship. And now he just joins the absolute stupidity of the writing in this show because it makes absolutely no sense. Another just really stupid thing in this episode is when Morgan and Ahsoka are fighting, all the zombie stormtroopers just kind of watch on the tower and they just watch them fight, and they just stand there and wait for Ahsoka to kill Morgan, and then they start firing on her because plot armor. And overall, in general, I like stories where the good guys lose and get outsmarted, and that's what they try to do by having Ahsoka and Sabine get stranded. But it's so stupid because Filoni's movie, they're going to do the exact same thing that they just did with Ezra. You have an entire show where 2 characters switch spots with one. Like, that is the entire show. That is what this show got devolved into. 2 characters go try to find this guy. They find him. They get stuck where he was, and he goes back to their spot. Like, it's so stupid. Because in Filoni's movie, I guarantee you, they're going to go find us. Like, the first 30 minutes is going to be them finding Ahsoka and Sabine in the exact same way. And it's going to be just a massive waste of time. This is a little minor nitpick, but again, it's just another instance of how stupid the writing and everything about the show really was, especially in this episode. Ezra had absolutely zero reason to come off the ship to meet Hera in Stormtrooper gear. Just take off your helmet so you don't get shot, because if somebody shot you, they would have had every right to do so. So that's kind of my rant about Ahsoka and everything that I didn't like about it. I think that Rosario Dawson and all of the actors and actresses did an absolutely great job. I think that all the performances in this were good with what they were given with, but I was really disappointed with what Dave Filoni did. This show just really did not work for me, and it was a massive disappointment because, again, Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters. I really like Sabine in Rebels, and they just made her so annoying and just unbearable to watch that I almost didn't finish episode 6 because of just how annoyed I was with her character. And it's nothing against the actress, but good lord, it was just not good. But that's all I really have to say about the Ahsoka show, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let me know what you thought of Ahsoka in the comments below, and we will see you in the next movie or TV show review.